Thanks, Paul, for having me on. I've been seeing these sessions show up in my email, and I'm happy I finally made it to one. Um, I wanted to spend a few minutes just talking about student agency and what we can do as global virtual educators right now to promote student agency in a virtual classroom. And I think when I look at the method that the method that I'm going to talk about, it really harps on just what we need, I think, as virtual teachers right now, which is consistency and structure for our students as they are receiving information. On Friday, I had a really great call with um, one of the learner support staff at our school, and she took me on a tour of 5 or 6 different Google Classrooms from different teachers across different grade levels and subjects, and it was just astounding how different every single Google Classroom was, um, and not in the kind of way that you would want to see from the student perspective. And so what we noticed was that kids are coming into all of these different Google Classrooms, and they are sort of forced to take in this the information that the teacher's trying to give them in all these different ways. And so I'm going to share my screen, and I wanted to talk a little bit about student agency, um, and sort of why now. So I work with some amazing ladies who wrote a book called Hyperdocs, and Hyperdocs are digital lessons that you can give to students. And so I like to think of them as like a roadmap for the learning. And so we as the teacher, we sort of lay out this roadmap for students, and then they grab a hold of it and for the most part can asynchronously engage in this. And Hyperdocs have been around for years, but it hasn't been until just now that it seems obvious to start using them just across the board, every subject, every grade level, a lot. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about student agency and how that relates to Hyperdocs. But before I do that, what set me down this path was seeing this post on Instagram from a friend of mine. Her name's Lauren. She's a teacher at the American School of Barcelona. And she's a friend of mine, so I was able to get a hold of a more front version shot. But essentially, right now, it's more important than ever that we build resilience in our students and in our staff. And this is the 7 C's of resilience, which is all part of sort of a healthy coping strategy for difficult situations. And it comes from the book Building Resilience in Children and Teens from Kenneth Ginsburg. But essentially, what you can see here is that agency, or giving our students something to do, and confidence and control and competence over their own life and learning is really important right now, because we want them to feel resilient and capable of getting through this and recovering from it. And so student agency fits really, really well into a lot of these different categories. So what I want to do then is sort of shift gear into what student agency is. Student agency is essentially students engaging with their learning through these 3 lenses: their readiness, their interests, and their learner profile. So everything here at the top, this is what the teacher creates. We have our content, we have our process, not only the process by which we'll deliver, but also the process by which the students will make sense of what we're feeding to them, and then the product, and that's what the student is going to give us back. And then the fourth element there is the learning environment. And right now, this one is a little bit locked down, right? We're sort of have our hands tied when it comes to this, just because we're all virtual. But teachers create this top piece, and then students interacting with it according to their readiness, their interest, and their learner profile. And what I realized when I started to look at student agency and understand what it really means is that students can differentiate the content, the process, the product, and the learning environment. So traditionally, teachers have been taught to differentiate their instruction for all learner types based upon their readiness to interact with these 4 elements: their interests and their learner profile, right? We all have inclusion classes. We've all dealt with students that were going faster than we were teaching or slower than we were teaching, and we needed to adapt our learning for them. Well, student agency says, well, the students should be doing that differentiation, and they should be engaging with what we can give them and interact with it at their own pace based upon their readiness, their interests in certain topics, and their learner profile. And so when we have student agency in our classroom, these are the behaviors that we should see from our students. And we should see them setting goals and having awareness and forethought, initiating an action towards those goals, and taking ownership and having voice and choice. We should see them reflecting and revising and having grit and self-discipline and having a growth mindset, and really just feeling empowered as a learner. And so how do we do that? What do we do for our students? And so I published this blog post on the HyperDocs website all about student agency, and sort of the skills associated with it. And at the bottom, I posted 3 lessons that you can get using just right now in the classroom. And so I want to talk about my happy place. I've got 3 HyperDocs that are linked here that are super easy to use and ready to go for your classroom. And all 3 of them promote agency in our students. And I wanted to talk about my happy place because I think it's incredibly relevant right now, and just in the current climate. So I've linked to the HyperDoc, and I've set it up to make a forced copy just for teachers. But I'm going to go ahead and view the HyperDoc, just so that we all get a chance to see what it is. And it's super simple. The idea is that we could give this to our students. We would want to adapt it slightly to give some more instruction, some more verbal and written instruction. But essentially, in the first slide here, the students are going to watch a video about their happy place. We would want to, and this video is engaging. So this essentially, this HyperDoc is following the explore, explain, apply model, and that in this first slide, we're going to get the students engaged and explore what our happy place means for them. And this is just a touching video. It's 5 minutes long, and it talks about the importance of being happy, and how that influences our life and our learning. And then we would want to probably add a slide here that would give some description. But essentially, on the last slide, what we're asking them to do is go to this shared Google map, which is a My Maps, and we're going to end up, as a teacher, if we were adapting this for our classroom, we would want to make a copy of this My Map so that it would be a fresh new map. And what we're going to do is we would have them add a pin to the map. And so you can see here, as My Maps go, when we click on these pins, they will take us to the area that is that person's happy place. And these are all pins from teachers who have done this particular training. And you can see here they've modified them quite a bit. They've made their Adobe Spark post, and then you can click on the Adobe Spark post and you can see the, well, that's fun. Ooh. If you're using Adobe Spark in the classroom and you have Google accounts, they can all turn on their Google, log in with Google's. And so this particular assignment is all about getting the kids to think about what it is that makes you happy. How is it associated with a location? Find that location on a map, drop a pin, and then tell us using Adobe Spark. If you're not familiar with Adobe Spark, it's all about either creating a graphic, a video, or like a simple web page. And so the idea is that the students would create this thing and link it to their space. Now, they don't necessarily have to create an Adobe Spark if this is for a younger audience and you want them to just answer a written prompt or find some photos and make a photo slide to show. Whatever it is that you want them to actually create to go along with their pin on the shared My Map, that's what we would do. And so, let's see if it finally loaded. Nope, I think that person took their project down, which is a real bummer. Let's see. Balboa Park. Beautiful. Did not quite get to it. And so what's cool is that the students, they have access to editing their pins. They could type some prompts in here, and they could add all type of information about their happy place. And I think what's nice about this lesson right now in the current state is that one is encouraging the students to think inwardly about what it is that makes their space happy. Two, it's getting them outside of their house a bit, and allowing them to look at a map, and place a pin there. And then it's also continuing to build a connection and a community amongst our students, right? Because we want to build a resiliency, and we want our students to feel like when they come out of this, they're as connected as when they went into this. And so I think that My Happy Place is a good place to start with that. And that's an easy, fun hyperdoc. Right here in the blog post, if you just go to hyperdocs.co, the post is at the top. There's actually a video that goes step by step through this hyperdoc and talks about how to modify it for your classroom, which is super simple. And then I want to show you this one, myself, and my classmates, because I think it's also an easy to grab a hold of, make a copy, and use it right away in our classroom. So as you can see here, I can view it. If we wanted to use this in our classroom, we would want to make a copy of the entire presentation so that we would have a version that we can edit. But in this hyperdoc is a little more extensive. So in the first one here, it's just a title slide, a little bit of the objectives. So this one's going to mix literacy with some identity. And then this explore slide, there's a quick quiz from Oprah show about what your reading personality is. There's a video. There's an infographic you can see about what kind of reader you are. And then there's an article that you can read to engage. And so this is all about just exploring the topic. When we get into the explain slides are all about telling the learner what it is that they need to do in order to be successful during the lesson. And so we're explaining and we're engaging them in some questions and getting them thinking about what we're about to do. And then in the apply slide, we're actually going to give them explicit instructions. And so we're asking them in this particular slide deck, we're asking them to make their own slide. And as a teacher, we can provide them with some blank slides. You can see here at the bottom, there's a few blank ones. We would provide them with some blank slides. And then on that slide, they need to put a selfie of themselves with some words to show, hopefully with the book, and then they need to answer some questions. And this is where we can allow for some differentiation as a teacher and give the students a little bit of agency. Maybe we can build in an extension activity. And then what's really nice is there are lots of examples. So this particular slide deck came from a Google EDU on Air about connecting classrooms. And so it's filled with teacher examples of this particular lesson. Not all of them are amazing, but some of them are fantastic and totally worth leaving in because I think they spark some creativity and get the kids excited and just see that I can really pour myself into this particular assignment and make it my own. And so, yeah, both of these are linked here on the blog post. And then in the last one there's one for a little higher level, and it's exploring the theme of exploring theme through poetry, all about the coming of age. So it really touches on the age level appropriateness for our students. So I think that was about 15 minutes. Hopefully I came through and everyone could hear me. Yeah, and I'll just show that I'll put a link to that post in the chat. And you know, it's super simple. There's probably 1,000 other ways to build student agency into our lessons. But one of the things that we're doing with the HyperDocs crew, and in that HyperDocs community, we have a Facebook community of about 21,000 people from around the world that are all going through this same thing that we're going through right now. And so they're sharing resources like crazy. If you go to, I actually put the link in here if anyone's interested in joining. And we're sharing lots of resources, but what we're noticing is that teachers are really needing right now, they just need something that they can adapt and use quickly, and not something that is just like worksheet style busy work. The teachers are really looking for something that's impactful in the students' lives, that's giving them some agency in their learning, and leveraging the fact that they're at home and they have some free time to be on their computers, and they can watch videos and explore and maybe spend more time on an assignment than they would have to in class, in sort of that exploration stage where they can read articles or watch videos or listen to podcasts, and get a better understanding of what it feels like to guide their own learning. And so we think that HyperDocs are a fantastic way of capturing that for our students. And just that general explore, explain, apply model is we're also noticing is very handy, in your daily posts with students. And so when we have students who are, or teachers who are struggling with conveying what they want the students to do, what is your container for today's lesson? We're finding the HyperDocs and just the model there of having like a multimedia text set, a hyperlink rich document or slide deck that is very step by step for the students, is also really, really handy. And so we're seeing at my school, we're seeing a lot of teachers who are using that style model to deliver or contain the entire day's worth of work. And so, they've got the morning message, and they've got, a 5-minute mindfulness break built in, and they've got the engagement that they want the students to do. And then they can clearly explain what they want and have links to Google Classroom posts. And so, yeah, we're seeing a lot of traction with the power of what you can do with that model.